An underwater giant off the Oregon coast is rumbling again, and scientists now believe it could erupt before the end of 2025. Hidden nearly 5,000 feet beneath the Pacific, the Axial Seamount is America's most active submarine volcano, and in the past few weeks, it has shaken with more than 300 earthquakes in just 24 hours. One volcanologist put it bluntly, if this volcano were on land, evacuation orders would already be in place. But this isn't land, it's the deep ocean, where eruptions remain invisible to the naked eye, yet powerful enough to reshape the seafloor and trigger tsunamis. So, what exactly is happening beneath the waves right now? And why are scientists convinced we're watching the countdown to a historic eruption? 300 miles off the Oregon coast, rising from the dark seabed like a buried metropolis, lies the Axial Seamount, a colossal underwater volcano sprawling for miles across the ocean floor. Its peak rests more than 5,000 feet beneath the surface, so deep that even the tallest skyscraper on Earth would disappear inside it. And beneath that summit, an enormous magma chamber lurks nearly 800 meters below the crust, storing enough molten rock to fill entire cities. Axial is part of the infamous Pacific Ring of Fire, a belt of tectonic chaos stretching 25,000 miles around the ocean. This is the same deadly zone that has produced earthquakes in Japan, tsunamis in Indonesia, and eruptions like Mount St. Helens in Washington state. But Axial is different. While most volcanoes lie dormant for centuries before erupting, Axial behaves more like a ticking clock, erupting roughly every decade, and right now, all the warning hands are moving toward midnight. To understand why scientists are so alarmed, we have to look back at Axial's most recent eruption, a violent event in 2015 that sent shockwaves through the scientific world. Axial's last major eruption struck in April 2015, and it was nothing short of extraordinary. Within a single day, scientists recorded more than 8,000 earthquakes. For comparison, that's more than California experiences in an average year. Deep below the waves, fissures tore open across the ocean floor. Lava poured out in fiery rivers, reshaping an area larger than the entire city of Manhattan. Yet not a single person on land saw the eruption as it happened. Only the instruments miles away registered the chaos. For volcanologists, it was a turning point. For the first time, they could capture an underwater eruption in stunning detail, measuring how the seafloor rose, cracked, and collapsed in response to the pressure below. But here's the chilling part. The signals leading up to that eruption look eerily similar to what scientists are recording right now. And the biggest warning sign of all? Something known as volcanic inflation, a swelling of the seafloor that suggests magma is rising once again. Right now, the most alarming signal isn't just the earthquakes, it's something called volcanic inflation. In simple terms, the entire volcano is swelling like a balloon, pushed upward by magma rising from below. Normally, Axial's surface creeps upward by just 2 to 4 inches a year. But since early 2024, the rate has skyrocketed. First 6 inches, then 10, and now, in some places, nearly a full foot of uplift. That's faster than scientists have ever recorded here. Picture the seafloor, 2 miles underwater, slowly rising as if the ocean itself is breathing. Each inch means thousands of tons of molten rock are being forced into the magma chamber below. And here's the chilling part. In 2015, this same inflation peaked just months before Axial erupted. The numbers today are not just similar, they're nearly identical. So, the question becomes, if inflation is repeating and the earthquakes are back, how close are we to the next eruption? The answer lies in the countdown scientists are watching right now. For the first time in history, scientists believe they can predict an underwater eruption with remarkable accuracy. Their models now suggest Axial Seamount could erupt by the end of 2025, and possibly at any moment before then. Back in June, Axial unleashed an astonishing burst of seismic activity, more than 2,000 earthquakes in just 24 hours. The swarm later eased, but even now, the volcano still shakes hundreds of times per day. Each quake is magma forcing its way upward, splintering the crust as it rises. In 2015, these same tremors escalated into a full eruption. The eerie similarities between then and now have scientists on constant alert. One researcher even described the situation as a geological déjà vu, a moment when history feels like it's repeating in real time. This time, though, the world is watching like never before. A vast network of seafloor instruments, pressure sensors, fiber optic cables, and even live underwater cameras now monitor Axial around the clock. If it erupts, every stage will be captured in unprecedented detail, from the first crack to the final collapse. But here's the unsettling truth. Knowing an eruption is coming doesn't make it less dangerous. The real question is, what happens when Axial finally blows? When Axial erupts, it won't look anything like the fiery explosions we imagine on land. Instead, the deep ocean will shudder as cracks tear open and lava floods out, instantly cooling into new formations of rock. Entire ridges could collapse, reshaping the seafloor in a matter of hours. Although the eruption itself is too deep to threaten coastal towns directly, the sheer scale of magma movement can trigger tsunamis, destabilize nearby fault lines, and even disrupt global communication cables that run across the Pacific. In a world connected by undersea networks, the ripple effects could stretch far beyond Oregon. But there's another side to this story. For volcanologists, Axial is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. By studying its eruption in real time, they could unlock secrets that finally allow us to predict eruptions on land, potentially saving millions of lives near active volcanoes around the world. That's why scientists call Axial the most important volcano you've never heard of. Every tremor, every inch of uplift, every surge of magma brings us closer to an event that could rewrite the science of eruption forecasting. So yes, the eruption may come quietly, hidden beneath miles of water. Or it may shatter records, creating the most documented volcanic event in history. Either way, the countdown has already begun. And the only question left is, when will it happen? If Axial does erupt, will it simply be a local event, or could it set off a chain reaction across the Pacific Ring of Fire? We've seen before how one volcanic event can destabilize entire regions. The eruption of Mount St. Helens in 1980 set off years of heightened seismic activity across the Cascades. And in 2022, the underwater eruption of Hunga Tonga sent shockwaves through the atmosphere that circled the globe multiple times. Axial itself is too deep to spew ash into the sky, but the force of its eruption could shift nearby fault lines, triggering earthquakes, or even generate localized tsunamis that threaten coastal communities. Scientists warn that while the risk is low, it cannot be ignored. What makes Axial especially important is what it represents. A laboratory for understanding how pressure builds, how magma moves, and how eruptions cascade through interconnected systems. If we can decode its patterns here, we may one day predict disasters in far more populated regions. But until that day comes, the Pacific Northwest lives with an unsettling truth. The next eruption is not a matter of if, but when, and what it triggers could ripple far beyond the Oregon coast. We've heard the scientific forecasts, but what about the nightmare scenarios, the ones scientists hesitate to talk about out loud? If Axial's eruption triggers a large collapse of the seafloor, it could displace enough water to launch tsunamis across the Pacific Northwest. Entire coastal towns in Oregon and Washington might have just minutes to respond. Most experts say the odds are low, but not zero. Even more unsettling is Axial's position near the Cascadia Subduction Zone, the fault line capable of producing a magnitude 9 megaquake. While there's no proof an eruption would set it off, the stress on the crust could increase the chances. For the Pacific Northwest, that would be a disaster of historic proportions. And in a world as interconnected as ours, even a remote eruption has global reach. A violent seafloor shift could snap trans-Pacific communication cables, disrupt shipping routes, and send shockwaves through financial markets. The fallout wouldn't stop at Oregon, it could ripple worldwide. And then there's the most extreme scenario of all. Earth's history records super eruptions powerful enough to alter the climate of the entire planet. Could Axial ever grow into one of those monsters? Right now, scientists insist no, but then again, the ocean keeps its secrets well. So while the official predictions point to a contained eruption, the nightmare possibilities remind us why Axial remains one of the most closely watched volcanoes on Earth. Do you think Axial will erupt before the year ends? Or will it surprise everyone and stay silent? Drop your prediction in the comments because I'll be reading every theory.